Hey gals and guys, Christine Margie here. Hope you're doing well. I know it's been a little bit, but thank you for your patience. Had a nice holiday break. Hope you had some great holidays, and I am back. Alright, for today's video, this is something I've been wanting to do for a while, and I'm happy to finally be doing it. My own story, how I became a designer, going all the way back from when I was a kid up until now, all the steps I took and how I got to where I am today. And while everything I talk about on here is mostly from personal experience or things that I've learned from others, I've never fully told my own story as far as how I personally got into design. So I hope that you like this. Right off the bat though, I want to say that there is no single one path you have to take to be a designer. People have very different paths and ways to get to design. This is certainly not the only way to do it, but this is my story, this is my experience, and I want to share that with you today. So let's bring it back, way back to the 90s. So as a kid growing up in the 90s, my mom actually ran a daycare out of my house growing up, so there was always a ton of kids around. I always had people to play with. There was definitely always some activity or some craft going on. So I was always exposed to creative, fun things as a kid, which I'm very thankful for. I would draw in my spare time. I would do collages. I would rip up magazines and make these cool collages out of stuff that I found. I was really into experimenting with fashion as a teenager. I would cut up all my shirts and tie them up in different ways. I wanted to be unique, so self-expression was really important to me. I liked being able to express myself through my clothes, through what I put on my walls, anything that I could sort of take and cut it up and make it my own, I was really into. So something kind of random and funny that I remember about being a kid is that my mom would give me a junk drawer from the kitchen to organize for fun. So I would find a lot of satisfaction in going through piles and piles of junk, organizing them into different categories, throwing out all the trash. I just found that really entertaining and satisfying for some reason, which sounds kind of weird, but I became a designer, so I think it actually kind of makes sense. So around 7th grade is around when we got our first family computer. And I spent a lot of time doing what every other 7th grader was doing. Mavis Beacon teaches typing. I was playing a lot of games that came on a CD-ROM in the mail. Anyone remember those? But eventually in high school, I found myself on message boards. And that's really where I think I started getting into design without even realizing it, which is the crazy thing. Message boards, if you're not familiar, a lot like something like Reddit or something where you have a post and then people can comment and make other posts. I went on these message boards and I found that people were making these graphics for their signatures, or siggies as we call them. And so I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. I started playing around with making my own signatures for these message boards. So I had a pirated Paint Shop Pro 7. I took pictures of pop stars I liked. I would download fonts. I liked playing with colors and just had a lot of fun making these things. So as I'm making these graphics, I'm finding that I really, really love it. I'm having a lot of fun and I want to make my own website. When I was 15 years old, I had my first website. I got my parents to give me money to buy a domain. I had my first domain and I made my first blog website. Now I know 15's young, that sounds kind of impressive, but believe me when I say the web was a lot simpler back then. I made my website entirely out of iframes, which is so embarrassing to think about now. We didn't have tablets or mobile devices to be responsive for. There weren't really a whole lot of rules. There was just the wild, wild west of the web. You could really do whatever you want. I found some websites where I taught myself basic HTML, and I was able to make these graphics in Paint Shop Pro 7 and then put them on the web and then use that as my blog website. So while I'm blogging about very important topics in high school, I'm having a ton of fun just making these different layouts. So every couple of months, I would just completely change what I had up. I would make a new theme. I would make a splash page with the hits counter, you know. My main page would have all these different pieces on it. So there was the blog, there was like a picture of the day section, there was these mini avatar things you could collect. It's really weird back then. One day I will show you all some of this old work because it's pretty epic. But what I loved about it is that I could really just be creative and push the boundaries and really do whatever I wanted. And what's great is that I didn't know what I was doing was design. I didn't know any of the rules. I was just having plain fun. And honestly, I really miss those days because, side note, when design's a job, it does lose a bit of its fun. It's still fun, but not as fun. So I'm having all this fun, I'm making this stuff, I'm loving it, but I have no idea what design as a career is. I didn't know what I was doing was design. I had no idea. So as fate would have it, in my junior year of high school, I was in a fashion design and merchandising class, random, but we took a field trip to this fashion college and they had a program there for graphic design. And this was the first time I'd even heard of graphic design. And this blew my mind. I had no idea that what I had been doing and loving could actually be a career. So this really got me thinking, okay, if I can do this for a career, sign me up. I love this. Yes. So I do a bunch of research. I want to do this in college. What do I need to do to get there? In my senior year of high school, I decided, well, if you want to go to college for graphic design, it might be a good idea to take one art class, maybe. So I did. I had no artistic training at that point. I had never done any drawing classes or anything like that. Meanwhile, I'm doing college applications and seeing that they want a portfolio. So while I was able to use some of my graphics and my website work to sort of apply to college, I was also using my art class to do some other pieces. And I will spare you the story about how I went to the school I went to, though I do have a video about that. Long story short, I almost went to a private art school, but I didn't. I ended up at a state college in California, and I loved it. Loved it. At my college, you start your major classes right away. So my freshman year, I'm 17 years old, fresh out of my first art class, and I go into my art and design major completely green. So even though I kind of started in the digital design space, my college was really more print focused, which was fine. I still learned all the principles of design. I learned the elements of design. I studied typography, color, symbology, illustration. And because my major was art and design, I also took a lot of art history, design history, a couple really cool classes like art theory and women in art history, things like that. I'm really grateful for the education I had. I think it really taught me a lot. And even though it was hard, it was a lot of work, and I didn't always love all of my classes, I think it really gave me a great foundation for my design career. So for me, college was a really, really good thing. So like I said, my college was mostly focused on print design, but we had an alumni come back for a 3-hour workshop on a Saturday to teach us HTML and CSS, which was a game changer for me. Since I already knew HTML from my high school days, that part I understood, but CSS was brand new to me at the time, and I was soaking it up. I wanted to learn everything about it that I could, and I made sure that I understood CSS because I knew it would be important. Even still, my portfolio coming out of school was very print-based. And this was 2010, so I hadn't even heard of UI, UX design. I hadn't even heard of product design. In my mind, I was gonna be a junior designer, then a regular designer, then art director, creative director. So I had this very traditional agency, graphic design career path in my head of what I was going to do in the future. So after I graduated, I ended up at a small local PR and advertising firm where I worked on websites, marketing campaigns, local advertising. I got a really good, well-rounded experience there. I got to have my hands in a lot of different types of projects, find out what I liked, what I didn't, what I was good at, what I wasn't, and it was just a good way to get my feet wet in the design world. So after working there for a couple of years, I ended up moving across the country where I worked for a very, very, very small company, like 5 people small. Ended up doing some similar things, local advertising, local websites, things like that. And I was there for about a year, and from that job, I was able to get more web examples into my portfolio, which led me to the next job I had, which was my first step into tech, I would say. I have a video on the transition here from graphic design to UI UX right here, check it out. So here I was at my first job at a tech consultancy, which is like an agency, and I was so confused for like months. It took me a really long time to feel like I understood all the lingo, all the acronyms, everything in tech. I had no clue. Like, being in a print graphic design background for so long, I was completely in a new world. I had no idea what was going on, but I picked it up. And I slowly started to figure out that working in tech, working and doing user experience as part of your design was a whole other aspect that I had never done before doing regular graphic design, and I found that I loved it. So at this place, I got to work on custom software projects, a lot of websites, still some branding, graphic design work, but definitely more on the tech UX side of things. There's the puzzle, logical systems piece along with the visual design, and I loved that I could do both at the same time. So that job really helped me get a foundation for working in tech, working as a UX designer. I was there for 4 years until I moved across the country again, which was earlier this year. I spent a few months, short stint at a startup, and then I moved on to where I am now as a senior UX designer in-house at a large corporation. And I have to say, I'm really happy with where I am now. I feel like all the steps that I went through to get to where I am really prepared me, and I'm in a good place because I'm being challenged still. I'm learning new things every day. It's not the same old experience that I've had. So I love that it's something new and different and combining all these things that I'm interested in. It's really great to find a place where you feel like your skills are definitely used and appreciated, but there's also a lot of room to grow and learn new things. So I'm in a really good spot right now, really happy. But honestly, I know the industry changes so quickly, so who knows what I'll be doing in the next 3, 5, 10 years? Who knows? I mean, I will probably have a completely different job title that I haven't heard of yet, and I'll probably be doing something I never thought I would. So that is what keeps this industry exciting, is that you really never know where you're gonna go next. And I don't know, I find that really fun. I don't think I could do the same thing day in, day out for years and years and years. Not for me. So if you've made it this far, congratulations, thank you. This is my story. Everyone is unique, everyone has their own story to tell, and I'm glad you got to hear a little bit about mine. And I think some takeaways for you is that you don't know what the future holds. You really don't. And I think for me, what I've learned is that I can't focus too much on what my long-term plan is or what I'm meant to be doing with my life. Honestly, I don't know. I still don't know because it changes. Something I learned a couple years ago is that you should really just follow your interests and your path will reveal itself to you. You don't have to have a grand plan because things never go as you expect, right? Things always change. The industry changes, you change, your interests change, and that is okay. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to have this big plan. Follow your interests and follow what you're excited about, because that will give you the push and the motivation to do well at whatever that is. So for me, even though I have no idea what things are gonna look like in 10 years, I'm excited because I know that I'm gonna keep learning, keep growing, and just see where that takes me. And for you, I hope that you follow your interests too, with whatever that is, whatever niche of design you find yourself really excited about, follow that, because what you're excited about, what you're good at, what you love, that's really what you're gonna find fulfilling, and that's really gonna be your calling or your passion for a time, and that's totally cool. All right, everyone, that is it for this video, for my story. Thank you for hanging in there. Hope you found this interesting. If you have any other questions about me or what I've done, leave a comment below. Love answering your questions. I would like to be an open book for you because this whole channel is really to just share my experience and help you with your experience. So anything I can help you with, please ask. Don't be shy. If you like this video, I would appreciate a big thumbs up. You can also hit that red subscribe button to see more of my videos when I release them. That is all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.